If you were to ask any school-aged child, does a malach, does an angel have bechira, does an angel have free will? Readily you receive the answer, no, of course not. Everyone knows a malach doesn't have bechira, angels do not have free will. And that is a very accepted fact, however, it's also wrong. We see many places in Chazal where malachim were punished. We see many times when malachim erred in judgment, they made mistakes, and they were held accountable for it. And I think if we better understand this concept of bechira, free will, we'll better understand the entire concept of what we're challenged with as a human being. If you'd like to understand the free will that a malach has, all you have to do is think of the following mashal. Imagine I were to offer you $100 if you were to put your hand in a fire. Imagine I pull out a crisp $100 bill and say, here, this is yours if you put your hand in a fire for, say, 1 minute. I doubt you'd take me up on the offer. I doubt you'd do it for $1,000. I doubt you'd do it for $10,000. Why? Because it's foolish. You see, self-inflicted damage is not something that normal, sane people engage in. A malach has a clarity of vision. A malach understands things with such clarity that it understands that everything that Hashem says is for the betterment of man. Everything that Hashem does is for the good. If Hashem commanded a man or a malach not to do something, a malach understands that that's for its good. And on the flip side, if Hashem said not to do something, a malach also understands that doing it would be damaging to it. Much like I don't really have free will to put my hand in the fire, so too a malach doesn't really have free will to violate Hashem's will. In theory, I could put my hand in the fire. I have theoretical free will, but practically I would never do it. Therefore, in theory, I have free will to do it. Practically, I don't. In that same vein, in a practical way, malachim don't have free will. In theory, they could violate Hashem's will. In theory, they don't have to listen. But practically, they would never do it because they see things with such clarity and such understanding. And this concept is actually very eye-opening to us. Because if we were able to understand things with absolute clarity, if we were able to cut through the darkness and see things with their true value, we would be akin to malachim. We would never sin, only serve Hashem, do everything that's right. One of the challenges of being a human being is that we get enveloped in all of the physicality, we get swallowed up in the darkness, and we lose that sight, we lose that vision. One of the reasons that we spend so much time thinking, understanding, studying Torah is to gain that clarity, and that's ultimately one of the great solutions to all sin, to think, to understand, to better relate to the fact that everything Hashem says is for my good, and once I get that, once I understand that, it's much easier for me to properly serve Hashem.